In 1914, First Christian Church began from the grassroots efforts of a visiting evangelist from Tennessee, Brother E. Edens, who was vacationing in Wauchula. From 1914 to 1915, Brother Padden served as pastor. However, in October of 1915, Reverend B.E. Melindy became the first permanent minister of First Christian Church and helped establish an organized group of believers. Under his leadership, the small church began meeting in various locations around Wauchula. Upstairs in the old Royal Theater building, at the corner of US 17 and Main Street, and a room at the courthouse. It was in these locations that our brothers and sisters broke bread, sang songs, and studied the Word of God together. They didn't know then, though it was their prayer, these were the humble beginnings that would one day be a church that would spread the gospel message both locally and globally, and forever change thousands of lives because of their determination and sacrifice. As this tiny group continued to meet in and around Wauchula, they grew to a point that they were ready for their own church building. The congregation pulled together, sacrificed, and raised the money needed to purchase the land on the southeast corner of Orange Street and 8th Avenue. In 1919, under the leadership of Pastor Walter S. Smith, First Christian Church had its first permanent place of worship. Over the next 61 years, First Christian would go through many changes, adding on to the church due to growth and losing the property for a short time due to the effects of the Depression. Through everything, God protected FCC. Due to God's provision, the faithfulness of the congregation, and many different faithful leaders, First Christian Church survived. Fast forward to the late 70s, under the leadership of Pastor Joe Wright, First Christian Church experienced great growth once again, and a campaign began to fund the project of a new church building. Many people sacrificed and gave all they could to purchase the land and build a new building at 1121 Louisiana Street. God blessed FCC with a membership that was able to have the building paid for before the first worship service ever took place inside. In the years that followed, FCC enjoyed many blessings, but by the late 90s, the church had dwindled to 50 or 60 people. In 2000, the church leadership rallied together and decided that they had to do something. In April of 2000, Pastor Steve Kiefer and Pastor Darren Canary were hired. Pastor Steve was hired as the senior pastor, and under his leadership, the church began to see growth like it hadn't seen since the 70s and early 80s. Pastor Darren was hired as the youth pastor and established a children's and youth program that went from a handful of kids to one of the largest in the county. These two young pastors had helped usher in a new day for FCC. In 2003, Associate Pastor Tom Hartman and Children's Director Jen Canary were hired to come alongside and help with continued growth. Pastor Tom revitalized the worship ministry that brought a new spirit of worship to FCC. Miss Jen brought a whole new level of creativity to our children's department and launched an all-new ministry called Kids World, which grew the children's department to the astounding numbers that we see still today. In 2004, Pastor Darren took over as senior pastor and cast a simple but powerful new vision for FCC of seek, grow, and go. A new culture was born, and through that vision and the grace of God, over the last 15 years, FCC has seen 595 baptisms, built and paid for a new youth building, and have been blessed with multiple incredible staff members and interns who have forever impacted and left their imprint on FCC. In 2016, God continued to bless FCC with a new staff position and the ability to hire Lee Hawthorne as the Discipleship and Connections Director. Through Lee and this new position, small groups, missions, and outreach would rise to a new level. Today, God has placed together a leadership, congregation, and staff that He has prepared for such a time as this. A time to once again do something that will not only bless this generation, but the generations to come. God's hand has been on FCC for the last 105 years. What those faithful men and women started 105 years ago still resonates even louder than before, both in our church and community. It is so amazing to think that we are a part of something that began not just 105 years ago, but over 2,000 years ago. We are the church. We are an army that God has placed in this city to win the lost and mend the broken. We strongly desire the next generation to say of us that we preach the same message that was preached upstairs in an old movie theater and in a little church on the corner, that Jesus Christ is Lord, and that through Him all things are possible. Let us never forget those who have gone before us and have prepared the way so that we could be the church we are today. It is now our turn to do something. Through this campaign, we have the opportunity to write the next paragraph of this rich historical story. How will your life be a part of the story? What is God calling you to do that will make this dream a reality? Not often in life are we able to be a part of something that has the potential to bless generations and change eternal addresses. We do not want this opportunity to pass us by. Our brothers and sisters before us have made this opportunity possible, and now we get a chance to step into the narrative of the history of First Christian Church. Let's go, church. Let's all do something.